Hello and welcome back to the channel. Thank you for joining me in one of my very rare interviews at the moment. Today I'm going to be talking to Charlie Foxtrot, who is the author of a book called Why Nothing Can Stop What Is Coming. It's about Q. Now, you may be one of those people that have seen perhaps these Q drops, the Q anon, and wondered what the hell is that about? Is it genuine military information, comms, being relayed to the public or those that can be bothered to have a look and work out what it's about? Or is it a psyop? Is it a distraction to give us all hopium? Well, Charlie Foxtrot has joined me very kindly. He's written this book, which is now currently available, with a foreword by Mark Atwood. Hello, Charlie.
Hello, Richard. How are you? Thank you very much for inviting me to Biggleswick. What a lovely village.
Thank you very much. Well, it's been a joy reading your book. It's fascinating because I've heard about these Q drops. I was a bit on the fence, really, with a number of things I don't fully understand. It's not something I've spoken about on the show because I didn't really have the authority, but to be able to make that decision of whether it's true or not true. But many people have urged me to look at it, but then others have said, no, don't, because it's a distraction. See, you've written a big, hefty tome here, which is an easy read, I have to say.
Thank you.
Fascinating read.
Thank you.
And so even if you're dubious, I think it's definitely worth understanding what's going on. So before we get to this, it'd be just to get a little bit of background from yourself to, what I suppose gives you the authority to tell us what Q is or not. Let me first ask, are you Q?
There are probably 10 people who are Q, 8 military and 2 non-military, and I'm not one of those.
Right.
And I came to Q a little bit later. I wasn't one of the original Anons on the 4chan board in 2017. In fact, I didn't really know anything about it until 2019. I started to become fascinated really with the character who was connected to Vendetta.
As in the film.
The Guy Fawkes, the grainy black and white Guy Fawkes chap. For some reason I was attracted to that, but I woke up, like most of us, when I realised the government were attacking us, and they were staging a pandemic. Prior to that, my life was fairly basic. I've got 2 medical degrees, used to be a psychiatric nurse, went on to become a chiropractor. But yeah, we all woke up, or a lot of us woke up for various reasons. And that moment when you wake up, for me, I mean, the hair stood up on the back of my neck. And it's like, oh my God, we are literally being attacked, and we're in a dystopian nightmare, and it's real, and our children are, very much at risk.
Absolutely.
So I suppose, and I'll explain why I'm in disguise.
Yes.
I did write a book prior to this one, which is in that one.
Red Pilling in a Clown World.
Now that really described, and I felt the need to write it because I was just overwhelmed with discombobulation, like a lot of us were.
Right, yes.
Loads and loads of stuff buzzing around my head all the time. And it was basically, I felt the need to document something that was actually happening in real time, and something that was beyond our wildest dreams, I say nightmares, playing out. So I thought I need to document this, but also it's the struggles with our friends and family where they've been indoctrinated for years, like a lot of us have.
Absolutely.
Social engineering through Facebook and the news and what have you. So to try and explain to them, and I use the analogy, brother, your house is on fire. It really is. Your house is on fire. You need to wake up.
Right.
And of course, they just come back at you. They've been trained, obviously, to
Not
to
recognise the smoke.
Well, not recognise the smoke, and basically anybody who doesn't join in with groupthink is ostracised, and they're either a far right terrorist thug or they're crazy.
Yeah.
And you try and explain something to someone who thinks you're crazy from the outset, you've got about 2 minutes before you start sounding crazy, right?
Yes.
Because it's so massive and so big. But I documented the communication that I was having with my family, and I wrote some Substacks, and the publishers wanted me to publish what I'd written, and obviously I'd documented a lot of the crazy things they were saying, and they were just becoming more and more ridiculous. Even though they could smell the smoke and they could hear the crackling, and
common sense has gone out the window.
Yeah, absolutely. So I told all my family, look, I'm going to write a book. You're going to look really stupid in it because I'm actually including a lot of the communication, because it's basically like a study into human behaviour and psychology.
And I imagine there's a lot of people who have woken up in a similar position with families who really do not get what the aware and awoken person is talking about, because, like you're saying, with your family and friends, it's the same story across the country.
Oh, absolutely.
Which is to the advantage of those that wish to control.
Absolutely. they just have to stick a label on, like debunked or conspiracy or cancelled or
far right extremist.
Yeah, or what's the other one? Where it's basically being stamped as disproved. When they I can't think of the name of it. Yeah, all of these
those
things.
Terms.
So anyway, I basically told them that I'm going to publish it, and they were okay with it as long as I kind of hid my identity.
Right.
So I said, well, I'll use a different name, and for that reason.
Hence the glasses.
Yes, I'm not doing a Macron. I don't know if you saw Macron at Davos wearing his dark glasses.
Oh, right, and no one knew it was him.
Well, basically, he developed a blood eye.
Oh.
Not a black eye.
Right.
So I think the black eye's for your common or garden deep staters.
Yes.
But the blood eye...
Something a bit more
I think,
deeper.
royalty. There's lots of photographs with the Queen and Prince Charles with this red blood eye.
Well, let's get into some of this in your book, Why Nothing Can Stop What's Coming. And, of course, the title gives... it could be good, or it could be for bad. And a lot of people, my viewers, will understand that there's some plan. They'll understand there's a pyramid of authority, that we've been blindsided, dumbed down, and all these sort of things, and controlled. And the pandemic that you mentioned has been the sort of a thing that a lot of people have woken up to, perhaps, and other people we've seen just how stupid people can be by injecting themselves with something that clearly has no benefit whatsoever and is arguably dangerous for them. And during this time, there's this organisation that's putting out these drops with the head honcho or honchos being Q. So just tell us then, firstly, is it benevolent, do you think, or is it malicious?
It's essential. It's designed specifically to stop a civil war in America, whilst a good guy military operation, what you might call the white hats, systematically destroy the deep state. And some of the things I say are Q drops.
Right.
So that's what they're doing. It's systematic, and it's maybe starting off by taking away their funding. But the Q drops essentially are about waking us all up, but to the point where we actually all want a military intervention.
Right.
Because that's the only way that they can go military without looking like it's some kind of crazy dictator going, just bringing in a worse New World Order.
Yes.
So...
which would sort of be some weird guerrilla warfare type thing, wouldn't it?
Yes, I mean, that's exactly what the deep state want. I mean, in the UK right now, they're doing everything they possibly can to start a civil war.
Yes.
And of course, in Biden's years, he was doing the same thing. And what we see in the blue states in America, they're doing exactly the same thing there. So it's very hot, and there's 100 million or so fairly heavily armed Americans, you know, who would take up arms and fight for the country at the drop of a hat. So
that's the advantage the Americans have, is they've still got gun laws, and they can, and there's a lot of guns out there.
The Second Amendment is keeping the world safe.
Right.
That's what's holding it all back, and the First Amendment as well. So essentially, the American Constitution. But there is a real risk, you know, that the patriots of America will rise up and just try and, you know, take back their sovereignty.
Yes, because they're being pushed so much.
Because they're being pushed so much, and because they possibly can't see the plan playing out. So part of the plan was, I mean, this is so complex. This is why this 380 pages is my most concise summary.
Right.
You know, and one of the things that I've always found difficult, and one of the reasons for writing it, is to explain everything. It's just like trying to explain the New World Order or why your government are wanting to inject you with poison. It's very, very complex. But part of the plan was they allowed the Trump administration. Trump is obviously the figurehead of the military operation. Q is part of that military operation. But those 4 Biden years, they let them steal the diamonds. That's one of the quotes. So yes, it was stolen, and they've got all the election, and they've got all the evidence that was rigged. And it's not just internally in America; it's the UK, Italy, Germany. There's a lot of China, CCP in China. And they have all the evidence. They've always had all the evidence.
These the good guys.
The good guys.
Yeah.
They've had to wait. I mean, one of the big problems that we have with the deep state is surveillance. So, you know, we're surveilled 24/7, and that technology is just getting better and better, or worse, depending on how you look at it.
How it's being used
to surveil us. But actually, this operation has been in place since Kennedy was assassinated, and it started off with some generals who basically wanted to take down and dismantle the whole deep state, but they had to wait for technology to get to such a point where the baddies could be surveilled.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
So and also, I talk a lot about Sun Tzu, who's the military general 500 years BC.
The art of war.
In China, the art of war, and basically, everything's all about deception. You know, Trump is often doing things, or people are often appearing to be bad guys because they're playing a role.
Right. So this is a chess game, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
And if I don't mean to interrupt too much, but what you've said in the book, and if I've got this right, is the plan to take down the deep state. I mean, the deep state's been in existence for
800 years or so.
Yeah. So, you know, and so to take something which has had 800 years of time to implement and get people into all sorts of positions of power and everything that it's done, isn't going to come tumbling down like that.
No.
So it's taken a long time for the good guys to gather their resources and create a plan.
Yeah.
And so the point I'm coming to is that a lot of that plan has been planned well before.
Yes.
And bits are coming out according to that plan now, many, many years later.
Yes.
Which is incredible.
Yes.
To think that such planning could even have existed.
I'm convinced Q will be taught in schools in the future.
Really?
It is that sophisticated. It is the plan. It's kind of telling you the plan, but in a whole series of questions. And we don't know what we don't know.
No.
Okay? So even those of us who are awake to what's going on, we don't really know the depth and width of the deep state.
No.
And the deep state are in our local councils. You know, they're chief of police. They're in our education system. It's that deeply installed.
Yes.
So yes, they had to plan this so meticulously with every single eventuality, so action and reaction. If they do this, what would the possible reactions be? And if it's A, B, C, or D, then we have a plan for B or D or A or whatever. And it's that detailed. And what I was going to say about the purpose of preventing a civil war is the patriots in America particularly had to go through their Biden years like we're going through our Starmer years. It's exactly the same.
To wake them up.
Their plan, the deep state's plan, was 16 years. It was a boiling frog scenario. So it was two Obamas and two Clintons supposed to be.
Right.
And the good guys managed to break that, and they introduced something called warp speed, which isn't specifically about injecting people with poison. It was about compressing their 16-year plan into the four that Biden had. So therefore, every single thing he did, we could see.
Right.
And most of us who are awake are only awake because of warp speed, which is interesting.
So they had 16 years, which was their original plan.
Yeah.
And then they were thwarted when Trump came in.
Yes.
And he was the disruptor.
Yes.
And so their 16 plan, they're sitting there presumably going, oh, sugar.
Yes.
What a terrible thing to happen for our evil plan, take over the world. So this warp speed is then, right, we managed to get Biden in, and they think they did it however they did it, whether lying and cheating and everything else. But you're saying that the Trump or the military said it's essential for him to get in, Biden to get in, so people can start to see, as they've only got 4 years, how ridiculous it is.
Yes.
Whereas over 16 years, we'd be accepting it like, as you say, the boiling frog. Now we know the water's hot.
Yeah, and during that boiling frog 16 years, we would have had probably 8 years of lockdown.
Wow.
Before they introduced any form of vaccination to get us out of it.
Right.
And those of us who dissented would have been in the FEMA camps that they were already building.
Yes.
Right. So I was talking about, those 4 years, but also now Trump's come back in, and of course we all knew Trump would get back in 24 because it's in queue. We knew.
Right. Yes. It's all part of the plan.
It's all part of the plan. We're now going through a phase where people are saying, "Where's the arrests then? Why are there no arrests?"
Right. And I suppose that's why people go, well, it can't be true.
Yeah.
Because if Trump was heralded as this great saviour, he's not saving people.
No.
And we recently read that Tony Blair has become part of that side of the government. And most, I suppose, will be going, oh my God, that's almost the devil incarnate joining.
Everybody very quickly jumps to that conclusion because they have Trump derangement syndrome.
Right.
Even those who are awake. In fact, I wrote this book specifically because I was being attacked so badly by people who were supposedly awake, who absolutely hated me for suggesting actually there's something good going on.
Right.
And they, they really do have Trump derangement syndrome. So any sign of him cozying up with one of the deep staters is of course confirmation that he's one of them and he's a baddie. And basically we're going through a period of pain and leverage, right? So the good guys have got all the evidence of all the corruption, all the names, all of the links, all of the networks, all of their communication, and a lot of these bad players have done some very bad things and been involved in some terrible things.
Yes.
Not just to do with money laundering and lining their own pockets and facilitating the fake news or whatever. There's obviously a lot of bad things that they've been up to. Now, when Trump first got in 2017, he did a world tour, and that was known as the capitulation tour. And basically, he went round to all of the installed deep state governments around the world, and they presented them with everything that they've got and said, right, you need to now do what I say and behave yourselves, and we will use you for good.
Yes.
To do good things, whitemailing, as opposed to blackmailing.
Right. Oh, okay. So they had so these nasty guys and girls had the choice, I suppose, or it wasn't much of a choice.
No, Hobson's choice.
Yes,
I guess, depending on what their fate will be.
Yes.
Now, a lot of these people have committed terrible acts that they might be hung for or something like that, you know, and others might just have a life imprisonment or something, or they might just be allowed to go off and sort of kill themselves, and they won't, you know, without the shame or whatever.
Yes.
But this is a pain and leverage phase. There's lots of examples of it. One would be putting Tony Blair in the most awful situation where his handlers, the deep state, they want world wars.
Right.
They want carnage everywhere. They don't want the situation in Gaza to be settled.
No, of course.
They don't want Al Qaeda or Hamas or any of these guys who they fund. So they've always funded both sides of every single war, and they've always started. You know, obviously they're desperately trying to maintain the Russia-Ukraine war at the moment. So he's in a terrible situation because he's Blair, he's got his handlers basically saying, you know, you work for us and you need to do what we're doing. And Trump and the team have put him in a situation where he's part of a peace plan. And but there's lots of examples. I mean,
but just to finich on that, so Blair's he's been presented with. You're saying he's been presented with the evidence. To do that.
He's been forced to take on this role.
To take on this peace role.
Yes.
So he's got to act now peacefully, but with his handlers, as you say, going, you've got to disrupt this, you've got to do something. Yes. And he's like, yeah, but they've got this on me.
Yes.
I'm in it. So in a way, what a terrible position for him.
Pain. That's the pain phase. Yes.
And he's got really no choice but to act. But the viewer, of course, is seeing that with a different lens, going, we think he's a nasty guy. You know, anyone who lived from the '97 election onwards, we've seen where he's taken the country and things he's done.
Yeah.
And then they're looking at face value and going, this proves Trump can't be good.
Yeah.
Because they don't know the awkward situation.
No.
Unless they're in touch with you.
Exactly. And it doesn't matter that they don't know.
Right.
Nothing's going to stop what's coming anyway.
Hence the title of
the only people who do need to hold the line, which is the mantra, are the heavily armed American patriots.
Right.
So they need to be able to see that if Trump seems to be cozying up with a load of billionaire tech giants, he's actually forcing them to do what he wants. Now, an example of that, recently, I think it's probably in August last year, Melania Trump held a AI conference, supposedly, and there was Trump there, Melania, and all of the CEOs, the Zuckerbergs, the Cook, I think from Apple, all of them were there, Google, and one by one, they thanked Trump in such a sort of pathetic way for being so wonderful to them, for bringing them into his wonderful idea, and they would pledge £600 billion worth of investment into America, and they would maybe move their factories that they got in China to America, and one by one they capitulated publicly.
Right.
It's pathetic to watch, really pathetic to watch. People who have always been deep state players, like Zuckerberg.
Yes.
Zuckerberg set up Facebook specifically to socially engineer groupthink, to make everybody, like those who thank the guards for helping them up onto the carriage to Belsen, for example.
Right.
So, which allows tyranny.
Yes.
If you've got your population, so with that level of cognitive dissonance and Stockholm syndrome. So there's one example there, and this has happened on numerous occasions. He's the CEO from Dell Computers recently suddenly turned up at the White House with a very strange-looking wife. That's all I'm going to say.
Fair enough.
And suddenly he decided he was going to give $4.5 billion to an investment fund for children, for newborns, I think, in America. So they've got this trust fund.
Right.
He wouldn't have done that before.
Right. So yes, if it had been Biden sitting there and inviting them all in, there wouldn't have been this. Thank you so much for being so kind, and here's a big donation.
Yes.
To. So
well, he wouldn't be using them for that purpose.
No,
He'd be using them to peddle untruths. And the big thing with the CEOs of these tech companies, and one thing that Trump said in that meeting was, I don't know if you notice what's going on in the UK, but in the UK they're censoring us. They're trying to stop their population from, speaking. And he made a point there, and that's why now Facebook isn't. Everything's in Facebook now. Everything's in Instagram. All of the stuff that was censored a year ago, people, I don't know about you, but people who have been, they've had problems with their YouTube accounts have suddenly come back up.
Well, I'm still demonetized, but I think
algorithms, take a while to...
But so talk to me about X then, or formerly Twitter, because there's, of course, you hear the same sort of different things talked about Elon Musk. That he is, the Antichrist. Is he your friend? Is he not your friend? He's got this Skylink thing. He's got, again, he's into AI and he's into robots and he's into all this tech. And so, on the one hand, he buys X and he gets rid of all the nasties and apparently we can put everything we want on there and it's not censored. And then you wonder, is that just gathering all the data from people who are now not fearing censoring themselves and saying things, or is he genuinely trying to help? And then you see him and Trump 1 minute cozy it up and the next minute there's a bit of a spat.
That's deception. That's a classic. I'll explain that now. Musk is very much part of Q. He may not be one of the original members of Q, but he's very, very much part of it, and he's a player, and he puts out communication, and we have things called markers in Q, which signify an objective achieved and a move, another direction.
Right.
And one of the things that Musk was involved with was Doge, which was basically unveiling the massive web of corruption and all the money that's been laundered and sent off to all these NGOs and found their way back into these politicians' pockets. Musk started to appear with a black hat. Trump wears the red hat.
The mega hat.
MAGA,
beg your pardon.
45 to 47, and that hyphen there is incredibly significant. Musk started to wear the black hat. So we've got the white hats and the black hats. Black hat, baddies. And then he appeared with a black eye.
Yes.
Yeah, behind him. He stood behind Trump with a black eye, black hat. And they'd come to the end of the Doge operation, and suddenly it's time to switch tactics. And the tactic now was to set another trap to do with Epstein and to start to deceive people into thinking that Trump's in the Epstein files.
Right.
The reason for that would be all the leftists and Democrats and even the rhinos, the Republicans in name only, will start to demand all the evidence.
I see.
Apart from those who are strangely quiet.
Yes, because they may well be.
Who are in it. And Trump is not in any shape or form involved in anything like that because they chose him to front this operation decades ago.
Right.
And he's squeaky clean. He's got a character. Nobody else could pull this off. There's nobody else who could work for a good guy white hat operation who could stand in front of Davos or the United Nations and just give them a complete and utter dressing down,
yes,
like he did.
You refer to him several times in the book, but you refer to him as, you say, does he ever look stressed? Does he ever look worried when he's addressing anything? And he's supremely confident.
Yes.
And of course, I suppose the idea is that he knows the plan.
And the plan, it's been done. It's done. They can't win. The baddies can't win.
Right.
There's no way out apart from nuclear annihilation.
Thanks.
But even then, I think that's been dealt with. So the black eye marker, that goes back to a very specific post, which is a marker which also included a lot of reasoning around why Musk was supposedly upset, and that was something to do with the electric vehicles, other connections to connecting SpaceX with funding with NASA, and that was supposedly the reason why suddenly Musk had become upset and turned on Trump. And this is all staged,
right?
But even that Q post talks about the electric vehicles. It talks about NASA. It talks about SpaceX. It talks about Black Eye, Black Hat.
And these are all posted
7 years before.
7 years before. Yeah.
Yes, that was 7 years before. Yes.
So the plan is in operation. So to go back to the title then, why nothing can stop what's coming,
yes,
is directed really to the deep state.
It's really directed to those who don't believe that there could possibly be a white hat operation,
right,
and they think that this is one big psyop, and it's mainly directed, because I wrote it, for the people who literally attacked me regularly all the time, with accusations that I'm sitting back waiting to be saved,
right,
and I've been incredibly active, and I still am, with that. I've basically given up waking people up when I wrote this first book, because it's virtually impossible, because you get to a certain
You're not awake
point.
now.
Yeah, exactly.
If you've got any time left to wake up, for one thing.
Well, one of the Q quotes that's in quite a few posts is "Nothing can stop what is coming," and that's the good news. This 5G chess that we're seeing play out has been won already, and leverage is being used with all of these people with all this influence and all these connections to do good stuff. Okay, but there is still a massive corrupt judiciary in America. You can't arrest people. They tried with a few months ago, James Comey and Letitia James, I think her name is, a prosecutor, and of course it went nowhere because the judiciary in America are corrupt.
Right, still corrupt, right.
And they can't do anything about that until 11/3, 3rd of November, midterms, where they could actually, when they take the whole House and Senate, they can wipe out all of the judges and replace them with good guys, and then they would be able to make arrests and put them through the Department of Justice judiciary system. We can see it here in the UK. We can see our two-tier legal system. It's so blatant.
So do the deep state know that it's over for them?
I think they're clutching at straws that they will incite enough violence in what we're seeing in America, in Minneapolis and what have you, and this kind of complete inversion of truth, which is a Marxist weapon. As old as as old as history, really. You tell lies to the point where people believe it, and you make them behave in such a way. I think they still believe that there's a chance. I mean, if the midterms are lost in November, technically they could impeach Trump, and that could be the end of that, and then we're all absolutely totally screwed. But
right.
There's the military operation, and military is the only way. Is a common quote in Q, but the Insurrection Act has to be called for that to happen, and we're getting very close to that. But on January the 6th, 21, when the Capitol Hill was
yes.
so-called stormed, what they called
Yes.
was insurrection. That was, in fact, an insurrection against Trump, because Trump was the sitting president. And actually, Biden's inauguration with the cannons was a presidential funeral inauguration.
Oh, was it?
Yep. And Trump's outgoing inauguration. So Biden's was held at Arlington Cemetery.
How extraordinary. I mean, did people not see that? And the fewer guns going off doing the salute.
Yeah, and all wrong. Dud gunshots and things like this, and soldiers turning their back on him and everything. I mean, it's the crazy thing with news cycles is things get forgotten yesterday.
Yes.
Even the most massive piece of news, it gets forgotten very, very quickly.
Yeah.
I can't remember what your original question was.
Does the deep state know it's finished?
No, well, I think a lot of them do, and I think you'll see more and more deep state players resigning and becoming ill.
I mean, if you've got people like Blair being positioned in that must somewhat worry the deep state, because these are big players. Because
who's he going to dob in?
Yes,
that's the other point of this whole leverage phase. You can't if you're a police chief and you've got your eye on a drug gang or a drug cartel, you don't go straight in and arrest one of the key players.
Yes,
do you? You keep an eye on them and watch them for a long time. You've got to get the whole lot. If you don't get the whole lot, and that's the whole point of this operation. They've only got one chance to do this, and they have to take the whole lot down, and it's massive and it's deeper and wider than we can imagine.
So, from a reader's point of view, and they get to the end of this, and as you've explained, the plan is already done, as it were. We're now just seeing the theatre of it play out.
Yes.
Then, from the reader's point of view, comes away thinking, well, that's great. Really, we should just sit back and let it play out.
You can't do anything.
You can't, you can't
enjoy it.
Enjoy it.
This is another reason for writing it, because those of us who do know Q, we've been watching this unfurl daily. Something happens every day that is significant, and that future-proofs past. That's one of the sayings. What happens today, through whatever means, whether it's a com or a proof or a delta, I can explain those things, feeds back to something that's in a Q post 8 years ago. And, you may have one or two coincidences, but after 10,000, they're not coincidences.
They're not coincidences.
No.
Are the Q posts still going on?
No, they started in October 2017 and finished in 2020. And then, for reasons that we don't really know, 13 more Q posts arrived in 22.
Right.
Just 13. So 4,966 in total. And a lot of them, and it's not particularly cryptic. And if you notice in the book, I've got a abbreviations list to try and help people work it out, because the anons, even now when we pick up a message from one of the key players, and we know what to look for, whether it's a spelling mistake or a word or a timestamp, a certain video has been put out by someone like Dan Scavino, who's one of the key communicators. We have to then go back and interpret. But it's so easy, and I've put a lot of them in there. Obviously, there's a lot of sort of. I hope that when you read some of them, made you say, bloody hell, how did they do that?
Well, exactly.
Because there's no prophecies or predictions as such.
Right.
There's a lot of proofs where throughout time Trump or one of the team will confirm that they're on track, or that the plan's on track. There's a lot of comms, but I wouldn't want to give it away. But obviously I can't explain all 4,966. But hopefully I've explained how you can understand Q, how you can use it, how you can gain some comfort from it, even, and enjoy it. As I say, we've enjoyed it.
Why did it stop? Is it like
it's done its job?
It's done its job.
It's done its job, because what's happening now. is confirmed 8 years ago now.
Right.
So we know it's on track, and quite clearly, most people now can see, how Trump is operating on the world stage, and how is that? Did you see Davos yesterday?
No, I didn't.
Oh my God, unbelievable! He's ripped them to shreds, just beautiful. But he also announced that the 2020 election was stolen, and they have all the proof, and arrests will be coming very soon. Now, a lot of the key players in that weren't domestic American players; they were MI6, the Italian government,
yes,
German government. Lots of key players, lots of politicians, anyone who is involved in the because basically they brought COVID in to get Trump out,
right?
So that they could bring the ballots system into rigging the votes to get him out. They sort of accelerated that bio attack.
How long then have we got to wait, do you think? I mean, if we're in the Biden years with Starmer's government, which, I don't know who's happy with it. Easy to say that no one's happy with it other than themselves. And it's one great big car crash. Mm-hmm. And we're witnessing it. Mm-hmm. And if nothing else, it does show us that that's not how government should operate. No. It's so blatantly obvious itself. Whereas we've had governments and they've, not necessarily operated fairly, but this one does seem to be more exaggerated. How long have we got to then wait until we noticeably see something that is now beneficial?
In the UK?
Yeah, well, in the UK or across the world.
So I think it's going to go military in America. So I think they will. They've already the first arrest. This is a cue drop. The first arrest will signify the start and the course of action, something along those lines. The first arrest was Maduro, Venezuelan president. Military arrest, swift, no casualties on the American side. They got him. That is, if that's not a message to the world's deep state players, I don't know what is. And the other thing is, yes, we can see what the Blair government are doing, and not the Blair government, sorry, Starmer, same difference. Cancelling elections, cancelling jury, the right to a jury service, all of this.
So ridiculous.
It's just totalitarian Marxism, isn't it? But who knows about the Fabian Society? Some of us do, but not many people.
Right.
And the whole front bench are Fabians, and their emblem is the wolf in sheep's clothing, right?
Yes.
And their aim is to introduce socialism by evolution, not revolution. So by lying and cheating, basically.
Yes.
Which is the deep state's MO, isn't it? To
yes.
lie and cheat.
And we're seeing that played out culturally, aren't we? With all the trans and the
everything,
the racial, everything.
The woke mind virus.
Yes.
Which is incredibly dangerous.
And the school curriculum and so on and so forth.
Yes. And the virtue signalling and the Karens, But people always want to know, timelines.
Yes.
And there isn't a timeline. There absolutely isn't a timeline. It's action and reaction. But I think, my opinion is, in America, they've got the World Cup coming up, and they've got the 250th anniversary of the independence. And there's a very interesting film coming out by Steven Spielberg called... what's it called? Disclosure, which people are saying is going to be, about aliens and what have you. My hunch, and this is coming out at the start of the World Cup, my hunch is that's going to be the big...
it is going to be a disclosure.
A disclosure. The big one, where everyone around the world is going to go, oh my God, didn't realise it was...
And yet Spielberg is not necessarily one of those characters you would
that's leverage
trust anymore. That goes back to the leverage. He's been put in a position to say, you make this film and you can live.
Yes.
Or we'll shove it all on the thing.
Yes, exactly. So I would imagine the width and depth of corruption and however you might describe the worst kind of crimes that, you know, to do with Epstein and blah 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 blah, children and what have you. My thinking is we might have to have a period of martial law in the UK, because I just think it's going to be so wide and so deep. There's not going to be anybody able to take a sort of position of power,
right,
or form a government.
Well, I suppose if you took, you know, most of the players from the government, there would be a bit of chaos.
Exactly, but what about all the collaborators who work in the schools and the police force and the judiciary, and you know, it's so with
martial law, would that be men on the streets with guns? Would that be lockdowns? Well, hopefully to protect us, you mean, as opposed
to... I just think until you know, I think there has to be a Nuremberg 2. I think there almost has to be. None of this is in Q. It doesn't give the answers.
Right.
Q doesn't give answers. It provides you with questions. You know, which rocks to look under.
Yes.
So basically, it's designed to make people realise just how deep and wide the whole deep state network is, and how they've screwed us so badly for so long. Basically, so that everybody just is crying out for a military intervention.
Right.
You know.
And is that when they'll have? Because we often hear this term that somewhere along the line there'll be an emergency broadcast telling, and it'll appear on, in this country, the BBC, so it has to be true. But by doing so, it will turn the people who have yet to sort of realise anything's wrong, that this is what's happened. Is that a thing that's likely to happen?
That's what I think this film's going to be.
Right.
I mean, what is the EBS going to be? Like a text message? I mean, I tried to put it all into 380 pages.
Well, exactly. You know. But again, it's more softly telling people rather than one big message that's played 24 hours a day.
No, I think it will have to be one big message that's played and forced. People are forced to watch. It's part of this is the Great Awakening. I do think it's a bit biblical as well. I think it has, you know, and obviously people are going to go, well, is this true or is this not true? I just think there's going to be, you know, we all have an innate sense of right and wrong deep down.
Yes.
I think it will be done in such a way that will override, you know, these doubts. But I have no idea. I've got no answers there. I've got no answers. It's just the world is going to change.
It kind of has to, doesn't it?
Very significantly.
Yes.
Yeah.
I mean, we are. I think you know, the human people are at that point where there's only, you know, it's either jumping off the cliff into the digital 15-minute city of deep state, whatever, or something's got to happen. And I have said in the videos, in the monologues that I've done, I cannot believe that there's only bad guys and nobody else. You know, is doing something who are in a position to do something.
Yes.
Because it's always struck me, people like you and I, ordinary everyday people, there's a lot of noise from us, and you don't hear the noise from potentially good people who are in a position to sort of go, look, we've got money, influence, blah blah blah, and it just seems that there had to be a counter to it. Yeah. But it's not been obvious.
No. There's a really good film called Plan to Save the World by a guy called Joe M. It's only 13 minutes long. Maybe we put a link to it. That explains that. It explains why there absolutely is a white hat operation, a counter operation, and why there should be, you know, countering the kind of...
Yes,
a lot of the people who attack me for spreading, you know, calling me a cutard and all the rest of it, you know, simply think that there couldn't possibly be such a thing as a a force for good out there countering it. It's all doom and gloom. Everything's doom and gloom. So you're right. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I just could not see. I mean, you know, there's good and evil, isn't there?
Yeah.
At the end of the day.
Yeah, and that's what we're in. We're in a spiritual war between good and evil, and it's been an information war for some time, but it's becoming a little bit kinetic now because, of course, the deep staters here are trying to, you know, kick the Russia-Ukraine thing off, and apparently we're going to fight Russia because we can. Like you can stop the boats, can't we?
Yeah, because
they must be scared.
They must be. Well, I mean, it's a fascinating read. Even if you're sceptical, it's definitely worth going into and reading it. It's very readable, which is always a good thing. And I read it fairly, consecutively over a number of days, and it does enlighten you to a number of the things that has happened that you've been thinking, well, what was that really about? And so from that point of view, I think it's a great read. Presumably it's available in all good bookshops and all that sort of nonsense.
Oh yeah, right. As if the good bookshops will want anything like this.
There we are. Down at your local Woolies. Not that they're anymore.
If you could put the link, there's a link for that one. This one you can get on Amazon. I've got really good reviews for this. People say it's very funny as well, and
I do like that in your book. That there's a sense of humour in there as well.
I think there has to be, doesn't there?
Yeah, it's not all just dry reading, fact. You explain stuff, you put things over very well, and you give a wry smile from time to time, which is great. So I'll put a link for where this is available. I mean, my book Biggleswick again is in a similar vein. I slated big corporations, councils and things like that, and I just felt I couldn't put it on dear old Amazon, poor little Amazon, a company that needs my money.
Well, I mean, using the enemy against them is quite
and a lot of and a lot of people do, of course, yes. But sometimes you just have to make a bit of a stand.
Yes.
Even if a year or so down the line you go, right, okay, now I can release it to the rest of those.
I feel that and in Red Pilling it documents a lot of what I've done. So I feel like I've done my bit.
Right.
With the vaccination centres and all of that stuff. But
because you have been active in all of that.
Oh, very much so. And although the accusation is you're just sitting back waiting to be saved, I'm not sitting back. But I am waiting to be saved or liberated.
Yes,
we do need to be liberated. We can't do it ourselves. They've been in power for 800 years.
Right.
Nobody's ever successfully got rid of them.
No.
You might have a country that has an uprising, and then they think that they've got some kind of democracy, which of course is a fact, a complete joke. But we can't. I talk about if you really stand up against the beast, you have to be prepared to die, because the first 3 or 4 people who stand up against them, they will die.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't, the accusation that I'm just sitting back waiting to be saved and I'm a Q-tard and all the rest of it, which did upset me really, because all I was trying to do is give people some hope or take away a bit of fear.
Yes.
We do need to be liberated. We can't fight our way out of it.
Well, let's hope that we're all going to be liberated fairly soon, and because the Agenda 2030 is coming up.
Yeah.
Do you think it'll be before then?
Yeah.
Excellent. And there we are. Nice, straight, simple answer. Well, Charlie, thank you so much for coming in.
You're welcome.
Telling us a bit about your book and a bit about Q, and to find out and fully understand it, obviously go and buy the book or both books, and then let me know what you think. In the meantime, thank you for coming in and chatting to us, and certainly in my mind now I've got a much better handle of what Q is, and my fingers are crossed that it's all going to come good.
Yeah. Well, it will.
Excellent.
Great.
And that's the confidence that we want. Thank you so much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. I don't do that many interviews, as you know, at the moment, but I'm sure there'll be another one coming round the corner. They're probably like buses. But in the meantime, if you've enjoyed that, do get and check out the book, and I will see you in another monologue very soon. Till then, thanks for watching. From Charlie Foxtrot and myself, goodbye.
Thank you.